So I'm going to go into a little bit just of how we build our drills and how we layer stuff. The biggest thing that we talk about is behind the scenes is like scaffolding. So we want to start in manageable chunks and teaching and drilling things, whether that's 1-on-1, 2-on-2, and we'll slowly build it up to 5-on-5. But we want to give them temporary support and tools in those smaller sided games so we can slowly learn. And then as it grows, naturally it'll come in live play and they'll complete the task on their own in 5-on-5, and it's been really successful so far this summer. It's something that I've really loved and learned under Coach Pannone. So the first thing we'll walk through is our cutting. So here you'll see we're in the slot. We're attacking the slot, and we call this cut the low because the low man here on defense we call is the low man. So this is just our teach it and our drill it part. Obviously, this is how we'll warm up a lot of times. We don't spend time doing wasted stuff at the beginning of practice. It's always going to correlate to the game. So this is a lot of times even how we will warm up. And then here I want to show, like, I couldn't do an edit about Arkansas State without Coach Pannone's as good as it gets as far as relaying stuff through NBA examples and live clips. Before we go out on the court for a new concept and film that day before practice, we've always watched the concept. And he's just elite, man, through like PD plans and working with him. Like, I could give an example of like, I feel like 10 different drives in a single possession within a minute. He could pull the exact clip up. That's just how of a film junkie he is and how elite he is. So here you can see same thing, slot drive, low man helps across, cutting the low. So these are kind of examples of things we'll show guys before we teach these concepts. It can be varying different examples and things we do. Here's same thing, middle drive, now we're cutting the low. One thing you can see with our guards, like we're really big on nothing is on air. We're big on like bounds over cones. And a big thing here, like we're on confrontational drives. So everything we do, we want to try to create rim pressure and also draw fouls. Free throws are obviously the most efficient shot. So confrontational hip attacks, you can see I'm cutting the low off the middle drive. Here's NBA examples, same thing. Middle drive, cut the low. Now the next layer of it, on a baseline drive, a lot of people call this a 45 cut. We call it a kill cut, but it's really a read. So you can see our coach here, we call this a seeker. If he's dropping back to the block, we want to face cut, kill cut, and get that layup. So again, this is how we start in the warm-up section of cutting. We'll start right away practice after our dynamic warm-up. We'll go straight into drills like this. Here's NBA, baseline drive, step 45, kill cut for a layup. And then one thing unique in our offense where this stuff can kind of become random is we play our 5 in different positions. So here you can say it's the same thing, but 5s naturally helps. We like to keep our 5 on the perimeter. Here's a kill cut in a different scenario. Slot drives, same thing. So we'll just slowly, obviously you can tell we start with cutting the low, and we'll just slowly build and scaffold this as we go about it. Same thing in the NBA. You can see, right? So I mentioned this low man and seeker. So if that seeker drops, we really want to make this decision and cut the gap in the shell with that kill cut. So every time it's really a decision. We try to avoid automatics as much as possible. Yes, we have some, but a lot of it is read-based decision making on the perimeter. So here, right, we take it to the next level. Now we're reading it. So we're going 3-on-3 against coaches. We're going on a slot drive. Now they are reading the seeker, right? Who's going to cut? So we're trying to cut the gap in the shell. So he stays high, we cut the low. Now our GA Evan, he drops back. So we're going to cut the runway, kill cut. And RBC stands for read before the catch. So every time we're on the perimeter, we're trying to, right, these things will naturally occur the more and more that we rep them. But we're also trying to make sure our guys are always making decisions in everything we do. So here's some like really good decision-making examples of the same scenario. So right, if the seeker doesn't drop, cut the low for the dunk. Here we go. TJ McConnell drops low from the seeker. We want to kill cut that for a layup. So here's the next level, right? We went 3-on-3, reading the seeker. Now we call this the blender. So the blender is really our like play after the play. We're trying to keep the advantage and use the advantage, right? Once we've created it. So now the ball can be thrown anywhere. This really where it incorporates the randomness of it. And now we're driving and we're reading off, cutting the gap in the shell. It's one of my favorite drills. I think it really allows our players to really make the decision and they don't know where the ball's going to go. So this is just as we slowly layer it and grow from drill to drill. This is a really good example. And then we'll also go from coaches, then we'll go live players against players. You can be creative, obviously, and adding a lot of different constraints, creative with your game. So oftentimes we'll go like 6 possessions each. The highest team, obviously, with the least amount of mistakes wins. And we're trying to get a perfect score, just making decisions and making reads.
You said for something like this too, you have constraints. Is there anything that comes? Could you give an example of that?
I mean, the biggest thing, like I would say in that drill, is where the ball goes, right? Because it's very random. But we could also keep it where, hey, we want to work on kill cuts today. So the guys might think it's random, but we've really been struggling in that area. So we'll make it where it's just slot drive after slot drive or the baseline drive. So you can constrain it in different ways, along with spacing on different times. You saw we started in the 3-on-3 and the 4-on-4 to get different cuts.
And you said the seeker, that's the guy that's helping, right? The helper.
Yes. Next up, we got our advantage drills. So advantage drills, we'll start these like from the beginning of the summer. We started this in 3-on-3. So we're making the same reads out of the slot. And we really want to try to get off the ball early. A lot of times in these advantage drills, just naturally, right, we occur those 2-on-1 situations. And here's a decent example. This is still early in the summer, not great confrontational, but I like how he veers back into him. And you can see naturally like cutting the low. We've been repping it so much, it naturally occurs in these live 3-on-3 games. But here's a good example. Like we want to get off the ball super quick, and it creates a 2-on-1. Our read for this really is just if this low man, even if his foot's in the paint, we're trying to get off it early and play off this 2-on-1. And a big thing, I circle that for a strike. So we want to throw strike passes. I think good shooting teams are always good passing teams, so we're really strict on our passing. You could tell we rep a lot on just spacing, respacing. Like our guys are quickly respacing. Here's a few examples of it. Runaway kick, now playing off the extra pass. Our offense naturally just generates a lot of these 2-on-1 situations. Slot drive, corner kick, extra pass, 3.
Is there something that you teach the guys that differentiates whether or not they kill cut or they shoot? Is it just simply personnel?
So we don't do that per se. The biggest thing for us is we want to take the layup anytime we can, because obviously a rim finish is better than a 3. But it just depends. Like if the guard gets off the ball so quick, they won't have a time to cut. They won't have an opportunity to cut. But most times we want them to cut, especially as they get deeper. Like cut the gap in the shell every time. And like I mentioned before, like it's a read. So if that seeker drops back, it's a kill cut. If they stay high, it'd be cutting the low. But then it just kind of depends on obviously the timing of the pass and everything within our concepts. And here's a very big thing. I want you to watch this pass. It's a really good strike. So we focus on this, like Coach Pannone's huge on this, 42 passes we call them. So in the NBA, they did a study. If you catch it in the shooting pocket, they shot on average 42%. Just outside the window was 36, and if they had to move to catch the ball, it was 27%. So that's a 15% difference. So now I mentioned earlier, like good passing teams, oftentimes good shooting teams, it starts with the pass. So we rep on these passes too, like throwing strikes. Donovan Mitchell is really elite. Shea Gilgeous, John Morant, they're really elite in the NBA at throwing these strike passes. So here now we started obviously in the slot, but now we're going to randomize it. So right, we can go either way. We're touching the hand and we're playing live. You're driving the opposite direction. Here you can see, right, middle drives, we want to drive right, move right. So we're cutting the corner, slide down there. A lot of people call it a Clyde, but we're trying to drive right, drive left, move left. So we're relocating off the drive based off that. Here's a couple of examples. This is a really good, like, multiple advantage, right? You Clyde, and you got the advantage baseline drive. This builds all the concepts together, kill cut for a dunk. Similar middle drive, corner cut. A lot of times this defender gets stuck helping here, so you get this corner 3. Really good thing that the Grizzlies and the Cavs do a really high efficiency of is doing the relocating. A lot of people call it the wheel, but like just driving right, driving left, moving left is really creates a lot of open driving lanes. So here we built it up. Obviously, went 3-on-3. Now we're going 4-on-4. And we'll oftentimes, I mentioned, like we play with our scoring a lot. So we might play a 20-point game where +3, you get 3, -3 is a miss 3. We'll go +1 on a strike pass, like +1 on a deflection. So we'll add just a lot of different constraints as well with scoring just to make the games emphasize. And that might change week to week based on, hey, we're really struggling on this type of play. We're going to really emphasize it. Or this type of, hey, our passes are really bad. We're going to make a strike pass 3 points, so we'll play around too with that. You can be really creative with your points. And one thing we do, we have a lot of different concepts. Like here, we don't love this with Joey because he's a good shooter, but we do random flares. So just things in our offense too, you'll kind of see come up randomly. But to your point, Arthur, we do like certain guys, we obviously will emphasize more things than others. Like we don't love Joey said random flares, but our bigs, we obviously love that more. Them creating advantages off of that. Then here, right, we go 5-on-5 slot drive, but then also you'll see after this possession, we start incorporating full court. So we start to build in our transition reads. So now we're going run, down and back. One thing you'll see really good respacing, like driving, relocating off the drives. That's really a lot of what our summer emphasis has been.
How quickly do you all get to the 5-on-5?
Starting out of summer, it took a week or two, but we try to end every practice. So kind of like what I'm showing the scaffolding, we start with these warm-up concept drills, and then we'll go to offense, defense on each end, and then we'll go to blood drills, and then we'll go into like 5-on-5 at the end. And we try to play full court like every day now at the end to finish off. But we slowly build it up from the 3-on-3 to 4-on-4 because these 5-on-5 reads are a little different than what we got out of the 3-on-3. Here's another example of just runway where it was random middle drive or slot drive and then go and run. And we really push with pace. Like our goal is to have a pressure offense. So we're trying to inbound the ball in 1 second. So the opposing 3-point line in 3 seconds. So we're really trying to push pace. And here's just a few. I added these in because like these wouldn't occur as much in the 3-on-3, right? But when you go 5-on-5, there's some of these, like we wanted to call this an early easy pass, but it's amazing in college. Coaches change it to an early difficult, just getting off the ball early. A lot of times this man's defender will be in help. Like just getting those early passes are a lot of times a struggle for college guys. So we call it the early difficult. And here's like another read out of 5-on-5 that you wouldn't get out of 3-on-3. A shake up, my drive right, move right into a 3. And here's just a different spacing. So, right, we play out a lot of random spacings, random locations with our 5. So now we're in 4 out, 1 in, and one more layering decision making. So we're going to go first off a slot drive and reading it against coaches, and then we're going to go a baseline drive out of 4 out, 1 in, 3-on-3. I just wanted to show that just to show like we don't only go right 5 out concepts. We go multiple different spacings. And here's just some of those out of 4 out, 1 in. So slot drive, hitting the dunker.
Your actions stay the same no matter the alignment, right?
Yes, for the most part. We might have certain actions, though, that are more obviously beneficial in 4 out, 1 in. I know in my experience, like a common NBA action is like Nova. Some people call it different things, but like Nova is better obviously out of 4 out, 1 in because then you'll have the big sprint up and they're like on the doorstep to set that step up or angle ball screen. Where like 5 out, we'll have different stuff. Like the NBA is common, obviously, like all the wide, double, like single, those pin down the ways. Like we have a lot of those different concepts that we can naturally just flow into, pistol that we flow into naturally. Here's like baseline drive, right? Dunker circling up. Baseline release pass, one more. Then here we go against each other. So we obviously, as I mentioned earlier, like we're teaching, drilling it, and then we'll read it against coaches oftentimes before then we play it against each other, and then we build it slowly up into the 5-on-5 as well. Then the next thing I want to hit on is pick and roll reads. So in the pick and roll, specifically a lot of time we spent, we'll go through different covers, but I'm going to go against the show specifically today. So this is the same thing, like as in the cutting and the pick and roll, we'll do the same thing. We'll do a warm up. So right here, we're hitting the pocket pass against the show. And you can see this stuff is never on air. Like, yes, it might not be the best realistic defense, but we're always trying to have bones over cones and having guys just make those secondary reads. And this is when we've just taught it. So at least evading that second help man defender. And here we go, a wraparound pass against the show. A really big thing is attacking that top hit and hitting the short roll, and then an extra pass to the corner. I think like the biggest thing against the show is like, right, move it early and move it twice. So we want to get off that ball early when we engage too, and then we want to keep it moving and use the advantage that we've created. Here's the next thing. Coach calls this a C pass, or people call it different things, but he just calls it a C pass because you see the man ahead, C pass, throw it ahead. And now you can see how this is a really high level pass. We're leading them, and we call these go catches, and a lot of people call them stampedes, or running through the ball. That's why we call these areas the runways, right? We're running through the ball on these go catches a lot of times, and it creates really good advantage. It's so hard to close out and react to this go catch. And you can see how we just slowly layer. We start off hitting the roll, the pocket, then we were working on some passing, and now we're working on the C pass. And we'll slowly layer this too, right? So we worked on go catching. We can also hit the roll, but now we're reading this low man comes in and helps. Now we're skipping it, stops at corner. So you can see even in this, while it might still be in the teach it, drill it segment, we're still scaffolding and building up on everything that we do. Here's C pass, extra. A big read is like obviously against the skip is better if they're tagging from behind, but this extra pass is very common, especially in the NBA. A lot of times they'll tag from this two side. So this is a really good way to attack that one-on-one advantage too. And we play a lot of one-on-one too. So I'll show a clip later of just us playing out of this. We'll play one-on-one out of different concepts that happen in the games. And I threw in some international clips with this because I think they're just so high level and pick and roll reads and just the tactical side of the game. So I threw in a few examples here too. Here's a good wraparound pass against the show. Really big thing that I mentioned earlier, right? You want to attack this hip, but you also want to try to avoid gliding. I think that exposes the ball, but really attack the hip well. Make the wraparound pass to the roll. Here's some examples. Not great defense on this first one, but C pass, right? We want to get off it quick when we engage too and then hit the roller. Really good clip from the Kings getting off it early, then hitting Sabonis on the roll. And here's C pass, right? What I was talking about. If they tag from behind, the skip pass. And he does a really good job. We do this too. We try to lift up, obviously, to create good windows for the pass. If you stay in the corner, that's a pretty long and difficult pass, and it can easily get stolen. Here's C pass. What I was talking about. This is if they're tagging from that two-man side, you can really attack this low man. So we try to move it early, move it twice, and you can really attack that closeout, especially like go catches, stampedes. That stuff's really, really high level for this. Another thing anytime in this is I think he does such a good job of this. Eyes sell lies, so a good pass fake by Joe Ingles, like elite. Just hesitating, like just that split second, especially in the NBA, like creates a contested three to a little more open. Mm-hmm. Then here's working on all the passes. So we'll do different ones. That last one was more, it had some passing mixed in. There's a lot of scoring. So now this is just us doing a different day and going through every pass. So we're hitting the short roll. Then we're making that corner kick pass for the three. Then we'll build it up. Now we're hitting the short roll. Now we're hitting the runway. So we call this the runway or runway kick. And one thing too, you'll see in these drills, some teams will keep only big screening. I think the new kind of modern game in the NBA, a lot of guards are setting screens. So we rotate through and we want our guards in these situations too, because like against the switch, this is very good too, right? To get out early, play in this pocket, and then we can play off the advantage. So we have our guards making these same passes, not just bigs or playing in the short roll. Mm-hmm. Here we hit him. If they do help off that strong side corner, the strong side corner kick down. So we call that a kick down if you're passing to the strong side corner.
Is this how you guys do most of your shooting?
But we have a lot of it's through actions. Then we'll just literally have four guys on the court, and coaches really lead at this. It could be multiple types of drives, and then we'll get shots. But I will show at the end, kind of in our daily bread, is one of our main drills that we work on every day that has passing and shooting. But we'll also do like shooting in our. A lot of it is what you're mentioning, like it's in our concepts, whether it's the wide pin down away, the single to the corner, like all those different screens too, out of pistol. Like we'll do a lot of shooting where it's random, like it's be multi shots, like three different shots in those actions, like all combined in one. Here's just some good examples overseas. A short roll, hit the corner. This is where kind of like that clip earlier with the baseline drive kill cut, like building on the stuff, extra pass, and then we go catch. It's so hard to defend, especially this guy's not the most athletic. Like it can be a great way to break the paint is those go catch or stampedes. Short roll, runway kick, extra pass. So we play a lot out. You can see like how naturally this stuff builds, but this is how a lot of our summer has been built on these 2-on-1 situations and playing out of them. Sometimes it's 3-on-2. It just depends. One thing I'll say to coaches too, if you haven't, like Tenerife is one of the best overseas teams to watch too. Just sets year by year. I love to watch from like NBA to. I've gotten into college a little more now, but mainly college or NBA and international. Like Tenerife is as good as it gets with set plays. Here's a short roll, strong side kick down. So you can kind of see like with our guys, like this isn't the first time they're seeing stuff when we go into practice. We've shown them the similar film clips in film right before we got on the court. And even sometimes we'll have the TV on the court so we can just instantly watch stuff. And then it just naturally, it's so much easier for them to be visual, right? We know there's different types of learners. So a lot of our guys are visual learners. So we want to show them these visual clips. So it's not the first time they see it when we teach it.
How long is a film? You show just 3 or 4 clips, or
Yeah, it's usually just it can depend. Like we'll have longer ones that might be long, but then some are quick. Like it can be quick hitting ones. So it can be in the concept. It might only be one, but it can be anywhere from 1 to 4, like per concept per area. But then we'll sometimes have huge ones where it might be like we might show a whole though against the show. We might show a whole edit that might be more on the 15-minute side of like every single read that's possible. So it just kind of depends on the day and kind of how coach is feeling, and also how many like clips we have from practice from the last day we're showing as well.
cool.
And here's that example I was mentioning earlier. Like we'll go two ends a lot, offense and defense, or we'll just play one-on-one. So here you can see if they're tagging off this two side, we're replicating this guy's holding until this pass gets here, and then we're playing one-on-one. So we think like one-on-one is one of the best ways, to just get better. As dual implications. Like working on closeouts, you can never work on, I think, too many closeouts on the defensive side. So it's really, really good. And Biz here, man, he's one of the highest level shooters I've been around. He shot 49% from three and JUCO on over 200 attempts. One thing you'll see, he's an elite shooter, not the quickest guy in the world, but you'll see how these go catches, even for him, make him look so quick. So if you have non-shooters, stampedes, go catches are great ways for them to break the paint. Then here on the defensive side, Coach Cooper, he's from the NBA, really high level defensive mind. He's so good too with scaffolding and building our defense from the ground up. So we might be on one end doing whether it's concepts out of the shell, like you saw the pick and roll. On the other end, we might be doing defense, but we'll do some scoring, right? Like every point might be on a deflection, on no strike pass. Like we'll incentivize the defense as well for ways to have them scoring, because every drill we do in practice, there's a winner and a loser, and we either do push-ups or sprints after that, and at the end of practice, like based on the wins. So we're really big on tracking like win percentage and all of that. So that's a big way too, that we try to make sure there's a winner and loser in everything that it is, so it's very competitive. Even in our shooting drills too, and I'll show you later in some of our finishing stuff, like we keep scoring it as well. So here's kind of building up, right? We went through all the reads of the show. So now we might go blood drills. And this is where like constraints really come in well, that I really love, something that like Coach Pannone does. So he's so creative with all these different games. So here now we're in a blood drill, right? We're playing out of the show. The defense has to let the ball get to the short roll. So once the ball gets to the short roll, we are live. So not until it gets to the short roll. So then we're naturally playing out of all these reads that we worked on earlier. And a lot of this, like we've only repped it like one or twice with these guys. You can see how it's naturally occurring. So that's why like I can't say enough. Like the scaffolding and building on and layering your stuff in practice is a game changer.
Hmm.
Here's a similar thing out of the C pass, right? So now instead of we said, hey, we're constraining once it gets to the short roll, we're live. Now we're saying, hey, once this C pass occurs, you can't steal this pass, then we're live.
Hmm.
Here's a really good one, right? This is why moving it early, moving it twice against the show is so hard. If you get 2 on the ball, you engage 2. That's that pass that we all really want to get. And the last thing I'll go through is just some daily bread drills. These are kind of things that we do every day. So you're mentioning earlier kind of like what we work on. This incorporates a lot, right? It's ball handling, it's our confrontational drives, it's passing, and it's also shooting. So we'll rep different passes. This can change day to day. This is one of our most common drills that we do. Ball handling, passing, confrontational drive, kick down past the corner. You can tell everyone's rotating right. But these are just big things that we work on. We're really sticklers about. The teams will be on each end, so you can see like Scarlet's on this end, Black will be on the other end. And the only time we'll count a made shot is if it's a strike pass. So if the pass is not in the window, like I mentioned earlier, like 42 passes are so important for us that we will not count any makes that don't include those. And here's an early hook pass. It's just getting off it early. This is really big. Just reading that low man. If he's already in the paint, we want to get off it quick. This is where a lot of times like naturally a cut won't occur because we might be making this pass right here. But if we get a little deeper, then we want them to obviously cut the gap in the show. Next one we got is baseline release. Sometimes this low man might come late for whatever reason you get rode out. Then we'll make a baseline release pass to the corner. And there's just so many different. I think it's the things that you want to emphasize as a coach, like the passes that you want to make sure you guys make once you get to games. Like these are things that to just start and build up in your drills. And then here, this is really, really hard to defend is a pull behind. So we drive this slot. We want to pull behind because especially like if that seeker man drops at all, it's really hard to recover back to your man. So make this pull behind pass. And for any coaches, like Coach Pannone is huge on like open practices. Anytime you guys would want to come, you can reach out to me or reach out to someone on our staff. But we're really big on just open. He's big on our open practice policy. We've already had a lot of people attend practice. So anyone that wants to, definitely you can reach out to anyone on our staff, and we'd love to have you.
How often? I'm assuming it's daily bread because you do it every day. How much time do you guys spend with that?
It's about 8 minutes for that shooting. I honestly just kind of labeled it daily bread. Coach Cooper calls it that a lot. Coach, we'll kind of rotate. Coach Pannone will like our warm up drills. So one day it might have been that. We try to do spacing and shooting though, like respacing and spacing every day. So it's usually 8 to 10 minutes of shooting, but it won't be every day. Some days we might do the pick and roll and the cutting together. So it can vary, but almost every day Coach wants to get into shooting a respacing drill. And it can be anywhere like 8 to 10 minutes, those first 3 like segments before then we start going to like advantage drills, blood drills, and different things to move on to then 5-on-5 and playing at the end.
This was fantastic, and I have to have you back now. Maybe I'll give you at least till the end of the season to be able to get your feet underneath of you. People are going to want to connect with you about this. Where is the best place that they can reach you?
Yeah, the best place is honestly just through Twitter or Instagram probably. My username is just Zachary Hopp 3 on both of those platforms. So definitely anyone can reach out. We're pretty good about too, just like sharing drills. We've had multiple like coaches and in college even come to practices, and we share a lot of what we do. So I'd love to just connect, reach out if anybody has any questions or wants further dives on any of this stuff.